Good evening, Florida 4-H. Very excited to be here with you all tonight for our Ask 4-H about state officer candidacy. And surprise, we have two current state officers because they just went through this past year, and we have a co-advisor joining us. So I'll let them introduce themselves. But first, my name is Derby Sale, and I am the Citizenship Leadership Coordinator for Florida 4-H. And essentially what that means tonight is that one of my main roles is working with the state officers. And so that's one of my main jobs throughout the entire year, is getting to work with this great team of 8 young leaders making things happen throughout the year. So I'll let the other 3 introduce themselves, starting on my left with Timmy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Timmy Hawes, and I serve as the 2025 to 2026 Florida 4-H State Council President.
Awesome. Go to Kelsey.
Hey everyone, my name's Kelsey Cook. I'm the state events coordinator, and I also get to have fun with these officers as one of the co-advisors.
Go for Ricky.
Hi everyone, I'm Ricky Fernandez. I'm the state council parliamentarian for this year.
Awesome. If you've joined us before for any of these Ask 4-H abouts, you might know the lay of the land a little bit. If you're just scrolling through and this is your first time, feel free to, at any point in time, throw a comment into the chat and we will answer them. That's really what we're here for. Ask 4-H about. We want you to ask the questions. But we also have some questions prepared just to keep things rolling, to make sure we cover a couple of things. But yeah, to kick us off, or to keep us rolling, because we've already kicked off technically, our 2 officers on, Timmy and Ricky. One of the biggest things that I know people hit a point is like, okay, is this actually something that I want to do? Is being a state officer, is even running for a state officer something that I want to do? And I think both of you guys have made that decision yourselves. I think both of you guys have helped other people make that decision. But for yourselves, what was that moment that you knew that you wanted to run to be a state officer?
Yeah, so I've been in 4-H for 12 years now, and I've been able to experience firsthand the impact that the program has on the lives of so many youth, me being one of them. And the more and more I grew with the program, the more and more I felt like I wanted to give back to it, to provide people with the same amazing firsthand experiences that I had the opportunity and the blessing to do. So I figured, after following my older brother's footsteps with running for my club state council, or my club president, and then getting involved with the county, the district, and the executive board, I figured the next best way that I could help serve as many people as possible would be looking into becoming a Florida 4-H state council officer. And through that initiative, I was able to provide so many youth with the opportunities that I've been so blessed to have, and it's been great.
And if you really want a good story from Timmy, you should ask him offline at some point, because I think most of his really good decisions come when he's on a fishing boat, and it hits him of like, this is what I'm going to do. So you should ask him about one of those, because I think one of those decisions came to him one time on a fishing boat. Go for it, Ricky.
Yeah, so I share a lot of the same experiences as Timmy. Definitely when I was
Also on a
younger.
fishing boat?
No, not on a fishing boat. I don't do that. No, not that detail. But definitely when I was a younger 4-Her, state officers were almost like, I'm not gonna say mythical, but they were like a goal that was beyond me. And as I advanced in 4-H, I did executive board, and I saw what leadership was really about. It began seeing more and more as a possibility. And it was actually when a lot of people like Timmy said, well, why don't you look into it? Why don't you think about running for state office? And it felt like genuine advice from people I care about and people that I did leadership with. And it became something more from just like these older kids that do something I don't really understand, to something that's tangible and something that I could get into. Even though I sort of felt like a fish out of water a lot of times, is proven to be something that I could do. And sort of those experiences, talking to other people, I realized that this could be a reality.
That's awesome. I want everybody to note, if they didn't catch, is that Ricky still threw in a fishing still threw in a fishing thing there for shout out. Yeah, it's there. Put it in your brain.
Timmy talking too much. Get it out.
So there might be a couple people sitting out there wondering, like, can I even actually do this? Am I even able to do this? Not even just I've made the decision to want to do it, but can they? So, Kelsey, you want to give us a little insight into those requirements so that, because I don't want somebody to get off here and be like, cool, I'm doing it, and then read into it and be like, actually, I don't meet the requirements. I can't do it. So, give us some insight there.
Me too. So one of the things, obviously, and maybe not obviously, but you do need to be a current 4-H member who's been in the program for at least 3 years, and that's a senior level 4-Her. So when we say seniors, we mean 14 to 18 4-H program age. You do need to be one of your two state council delegates. So I know we have a lot of different pathways of how we get to 4-HU, do district boards, do all these things, but you have two seats from each county that go directly from the county to the state council. And so you have to be one of those two in order to run. So if you have any interest at all in running, you need to start talking to your county professional, your county agent, and ask them, how does your county vote in their state delegates? All counties are just a little different. So if you say, if you call us like, well, how do I get voted in? We're just going to refer you back to your county, because each county's bylaws and what they've written might be just tightly different of how you get voted in as one of your county delegates to state council. You obviously need some support from a parent or a guardian to make sure that they approve of you running and will support you through your journey, campaigning and then hopefully winning. Approval from your county 4-H professional. And again, that county 4-H professional is going to help us identify that you've been a member for 3 years and that you're in good standing with the program. And then you do need to be an active executive board member in this year. So at least for 1 year, you are been an active executive board member. It doesn't matter how you got an executive board, whether you're appointed or one of your district delegates, but at least an active member.
Yep. And I want to clarify there too, when we say 4-H professional, we keep that open-ended because, again, every county is different. So you may be sitting there and you may be without a 4-H agent right now, but you have a director in your county that's covering 4-H, or you have a program assistant cover. So that's why we leave it wide open, but just somebody that can say like, yes, you've met these requirements. Cool. We support you from the county level, that you can do the thing. So just that clarification there. We have a bunch of people watching with us tonight, and one of them is a past state officer, Miss Lizzie Shirley. I was actually giving her shout outs recently
Love
because the
Lizzie.
hype crew at I Lead, I believe she specifically started a couple years ago with like the hype posters and getting out there and all that. And it was cool to see that keeping going this past weekend. So I specifically sent that to her to be like, look at your legacy keeping going.
I love it.
But she has a question in here that actually goes along with my next one. So I'll specifically ask her question. How should one go about it if they are scared or nervous to run? So if they're like on the fence, like what's that advice that you would give them? I think Timmy, I think Ricky even mentioned that you might have been the one to give him some advice. So maybe take us back. Like, what did you tell Ricky when he was
Yeah, I can kick it off. So, with any leadership opportunity, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking because it's such an unknown. Maybe you don't know if you feel qualified. Maybe you don't think you're going to have time. There's a lot that goes into it that feels a little scary because it's a little mysterious, like something you're not typically used to. So the best piece of advice that I could provide anyone is to understand what it is that you would like to accomplish in your role as a state officer. And then you want to make sure, okay, I can make time for this here. I can move around a couple of things to make sure that this experience isn't anything that could burden you in any way, but something that could help you excel in whatever areas you want to achieve greatness in. And that's something that I've had to reflect on myself. What is it that I want to get out from being a state officer? And answers will vary from person to person, but it's important that you make sure you're not just doing this to put on a green jacket, but you're doing it to grow, to lead, and to learn. So my best piece of advice, the one takeaway, would be to reflect on the experiences you've had, the experiences you want to have, and the experiences you want to provide others.
I'll say too, if it makes you guys feel any better, I think so. This is Timmy now going on. So he's got 2 years on under his belt. He's got a
Yes.
brother that's done this previously, and I think even this year, we've still clocked a good couple hours sitting down and talking through. Timmy even being on the fence right now. So don't
Yeah.
feel like, oh man, it's my first time. Why am I on the fence? Like even those that have done it before are still on the fence. So it's a very natural thing. Ricky, you got anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I think one thing that I went through when I was thinking about running for state office, and I know a lot of people go through, is that fear of failure,
Mm,
that fear of, I'm going to put myself out there. It is a risk to put yourself
sure.
out there to campaign, to run. And what if you don't win? And I know I didn't win my election. I'm an appointed officer. So, but I would say it's that little bit of risk, but it's all reward, whether you win or lose, because the lessons that you learn from simply campaigning, from meeting, the people you're going to meet at 4HU, and and even if you lose, there's definitely a reward in learning how to improve in the future. And then obviously, if you win, it's a great opportunity that's going to go beyond even what you're expecting right now. I know there's things that I had no idea I was going to be doing as a state officer that I'm getting to do. And so it's really a win-win, and everyone is there to support you. Everyone, there's people that have preferences. People are going to vote their certain way, but no one's going to look down on you. No one is going to think less of you if you lose, and no one is going to think you're the best person ever if you win, right? 4-H is a very, everyone's pretty much equal. So I think for anyone that has that sort of fear of putting themselves out there, there's really very little risk.
Yeah, and I think it's a hard stat to come, and I usually say this when we first get there, like at the beginning of the week, but it's a hard stat to look at because
Mhm.
let's say we get 16 people run, and I mean the past couple of years we've had around that 20 mark of people running, and then you look at the stats, more people are going to walk away having technically lost than having become an officer. But that's I think what makes the process that we have so strong is that we have really strong people up there. And even if you're saying like, I don't think I like, no, just the fact that you're up there doing it is a huge thing. And like Ricky said, that huge learning opportunity. And obviously, I mean, you want to go in thinking I'm going to win. Like if you're thinking you're going to go in and you're just doing it to do it, then again, think through that to talk through that with somebody. Yeah, that learning opportunity is huge just to understand who you are, understand that about yourself, put yourself out there like that. So yeah, definitely agreed there. One of the things we talk about a lot as an officer, and Ricky and Timmy hit on it both a little bit, is just prioritizing and like what does that look like? You usually have a lot of things on your plate, so it's like, okay, what does it look like as an officer to work through all of that and make sure I can still be a solid state officer while also keeping all these other things up in the air? One, I would say when you're having those conversations with trusted adults, see if there's anything that can come off. Like, and we always talk about adding stuff and adding stuff to the plate. So, is there anything that's on the plate that can come off? Would be the first conversation I would have. Because if there is, and you want to run, that would be the year to do it. Is the year that you're potentially going to do that, so that that's not competing. Like, because even if on a schedule you could fit it all on there, that's stressful, y'all. I don't like. We sat on a meeting one time with the current officer team, and I was like, y'all, we need to really talk through stress. Like, this is not, it's not good.
You don't have
But
to be the president of every club that year. That would
yeah,
be a good thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I will say then this is why I want to go in this part, the time commitments. So at the end of the day, there's only there's a shorter list of absolutes of like you have to be there as an officer. And even then, like if you communicate with us in enough time and you make sure everything can happen without you there, I mean, even then there's a decent amount of flexibility. But as far as time commitments, obviously you got to be at 4-H University, especially as you're running and campaigning. You can't campaign if you're not at 4-H. Like you can't be an officer, you can't be elected if you're not at 4-H University. And that's the one that you are running to be an officer, and then that's also the next one because then there's that transition. So that's two 4-H universities that you need to be at. Right after 4-H University, we go straight into officer training. And I've already had some questions too about like, well, I might have this on that Saturday. Can I leave and come back? Like, no, if you're going to be a state officer, that commitment of that entire training is important because we get there, we hit the ground running with a lot of important things right off the bat. And honestly, a lot of it's just connecting with the team for the year too. And so there's a lot of great things that happen during that right after 4-H University in that training that you absolutely need to be at. You need to be at the 3 executive boards. And so that's at the end of October, at the end of January, and at the end of April. So be there for those. Make sure you can plan for those. Being at 4-H Day at the Capitol. This year it's in March. And so just playing, that's one of our biggest advocacy days and the time where we have so much green in the Capitol. So being a part of that green and holding up your responsibility there. I have one on here, opening day at the state fair. This is not an absolute, so I know I said absolutes, but this is we've turned this into that opportunity for our team to kind of have a mid-year check-in, because that's a huge opening day. There's a lot of cool opportunities, for being there and representing 4-H. And so that's another good one, just to highly encourage. So not an absolute, but highly encouraged. And then the event committee that you're on. And so as a chair or as an officer, you're put on one of the event committees, one of the 3 I lead, legislature, and 4-H University. And so if you're helping to plan that event, we want you to be there for that event. And then if you don't happen to make the other ones, like Ricky's not on the iLead committee, so Ricky wasn't at iLead this past weekend, and that's totally fine. That wasn't a requirement. That wasn't an expectation. And so those are the absolutes. And if you want to look into those more and look at what the specific dates are for this coming year, check out the becoming a state council officer webpage. And we can get that link into the Facebook chat at some point, so you can check that out. So, Ricky, Timmy, tell us about a specific moment that made you realize your true impact of your role as a state officer. And I asked that specifically after these time commitments, because I know sometimes it happens at some of these time commitments where you really realize like, oh, wow, like I'm actually affecting other people in a positive way. So talk to us about when you've experienced that.
You want to
Yeah.
kick us off, Ricky?
Go
Yeah.
for it, Ricky.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of examples, but I think the most clear one is this past April 3rd executive board at the 4-H University committee, which I helped lead. And I remember I was thinking about in that moment that over the past couple of years in executive board, there's been so many great committee meetings that I've been in that I've learned a lot about, and that I felt coming out of there, like, yeah, I had an impact and I did the right thing. We're going to be prepared for this event in the summer. And thanks also with Tommy Hawes, this past executive board meeting for 4-H University, I was confident that every single person in that room felt that way, felt that they learned something and that they were ready for 4-H University at the end of July. And that feeling of just the meeting went perfectly. We did what we needed to do, and as simple as that. And that feeling that, okay, I prepared all these people that I care about and that I want to help succeed. That's a really good feeling. And and then it just made me feel really good about what we did and about going into 4-H University, and that we're going to continue to do great things.
That's awesome. Go for it, Timmy.
Yeah, so for me, I think that one thing I could potentially say is when your goals come to fruition and you see the impact it makes, whether that be providing scholarships to attend events or providing opportunities for members of maybe multiple youth development organizations to come together. But I would say the number one most important thing that made me realize I have an impact in my role as a state officer is a couple of times over my tenure, I would have a couple people reach out to me and tell me that I've been a role model in their life, that I've been able to be someone to look up to, and that I've been able to help them step out of their shell. And those couple little messages really helped me to understand that I have an important role as a state officer, and that every time I put on that polo, every time I put on that green jacket, it means something. It means something really important. And you represent a lot of people where you're in that role, and a lot of people are going to look up to you and want to strive to be a state officer. So that's probably the biggest thing for me.
Awesome. And we have Dr. Chris Cubulus watching with us tonight too, and he said, proud of all of our officers. They do a great job and work hard. And you
They
guys
do.
definitely do. Um, so this impact piece, and you actually mentioned this a couple months ago, Timmy. I won't call it specifically where you were at. I'll leave that anonymous. But just as an impact on like thinking about the types of things you guys are learning as well as officers, and thinking about my impact or even Miss Kelsey's impact, is that you specifically mentioned you were like, oh, I was in this group setting and we were working through some things and like, oh, I realized like there's a difference between the types of meetings that we do at executive board and that I'm experiencing right now. And that was just really cool to hear. Like, obviously, I don't want you to experience that anywhere. Like, I want everybody to have good experiences everywhere. But I think that spoke a lot to what we really focus in on of like, if we're getting people together, we are making sure we are taking good care of their time and that it is worth it. And so that really stuck out to me as just one thing that all of us as officers are doing. And I think it spoke to a little bit what Ricky said as well. But also just thinking, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is working. This is the impact I've had. So Kelsey, talk to us a little bit about the financial, and there's a couple other commitments kind of mixed in there as well, but I know financial is a big piece. So I'm going to preface what Miss Kelsey is about to say too with, at the end of the day, we want you to become a state officer and we want you to take this opportunity. So if you're hearing anything, you're like, I just don't think me or my family are going to have the money to come talk to us. We will help you figure it out at the end of the day. But there are a couple things that we cover. There's a couple things that you would need to cover. So Kelsey, take us through those.
I'm glad you said that, Mr. Derby, because I was thinking the same thing. Whether we can support you or your county can support you, don't let that be the thing on the fence that makes you not do it. Is because you don't think you have the financial, support to be a state officer. But right off the bat, we will fully cover your cost to go, like the registration fee for executive board, officer trainings, that opening day at the fair that Mr. Derby talked about, day at the Capitol. So those events we will fully cover for you. Now you getting there, like your transportation or your gas or something like that, that might be on your own. Hopefully you can ride with your county or carpool, but we'll cover any kind of registration costs that is. Now officer training is a little different because you'll already be at 4HU and then we'll cover everything from there on
And
out. But
with that, we usually cover lodging as well when we can.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a hotel cost or something along those lines, we usually try to cover those as well. Not always a guarantee, but definitely for those that she just mentioned, we always try to cover those as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, officer training for sure. And we've in the past the theme has been we'll cover lodging for the state fair too. We will also get you your green jacket. We'll get you your official polo and we will get you your name tag as well. One of the things that you need to be able to provide is like black pants or skirt for females, and then a white button-down dress shirt or a white blouse for underneath your green jacket. So that is, we ask our state officers to provide that. And then, we kind of talked about that travel to events that is either on you or on your county. And I will say too, if you're in around the Gainesville area, or can get to the Gainesville area, Mr. Derby and I, a lot of times will have space in the state van and we'll take state officers to events as well, especially if you have to be there early. So transportation, there's usually some things that we do. Again, we don't want to guarantee anything, but we'll work with you on
You
some
got to
of
be
those
ready
things.
to kind of be packed in there with all the
Yes.
luggage.
Yeah, you gotta be.
It's kind of tight sometimes.
It's a sardine. No guarantee a box is not gonna fall on your head. No guarantees there, but you can get in the van.
Yeah, come on.
We got a seatbelt for you. It's good.
We see the war images in Ricky and Timmy's eyes of like, oh yeah, I remember getting hit in the head with something.
A box has fallen on my head. That is true. So if you're on a committee, executive board committee, and you're on that, so I lead Ledge University, you will get the committee discount as well. That goes to all of the executive board members who sit on that committee will receive that committee discount. Then there's a lot of optional ambassador opportunities throughout the year that you will be invited to participate in. And again, a lot of times we do try to provide, coverage for if there's a fee to attend or if we need a hotel. A good example is a lot of our state officers go to Sunbelt. You can ride with us. We get the hotel. We pay to get entry, things like that. But we those aren't on the guaranteed list. But there's a lot of things that we do. But then there's going to be some opportunities where, hey, this is an opportunity, and you're kind of completely on your own to go to it, and that's A to Z. And it's optional. You don't have to, but if you feel like you can and you want to, you can go.
I'm
But you
gonna
would
hop
have
in
to
there real
cover those
quick
things.
too.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I really want to emphasize if you only come to what we just said above, the events, executive boards, things like that, you will have been a successful state officer.
Absolutely.
You have done your role as a chair, would have made that event happen. This going to these ambassador opportunities really comes down to your own interest and your own availability. So I don't want you to ever look at another state officer and be like, man, they're going to a lot right now, and I haven't. Like that's no one's thinking that but you.
Yeah, yeah.
So like no one's holding you that against you because we know there's just a wide array of things that could allow you to go or not allow you to go. So again, any of those ambassador opportunities that come through are purely just if we can get somebody there, we can get somebody there. Great, and that's why we've also opened up having the state ambassador, so we can have
Yeah.
more coverage across the state. We can have more people available for different things. So yeah, just wanted to add that caveat there.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have virtual meetings, so just a way for you to connect virtually is very helpful and hopefully something you can do. And then, just again with that ambassador, our state officers so many of the time represent Florida 4-H in so many different levels and can be seen quote unquote as the face of Florida 4-H. And so, some of those events that you might go to just might have some of those financial costs that come along with it and some other commitments. But again, let's not leave here and say to be a state officer is too expensive. I can't do it. Don't have that mindset. Don't let that be a part of the equation. Work with us, talk with us, and between us and your county, we will help you be successful as a state officer.
Absolutely. We have a couple more people to join us in the chat. Jennifer said that the state officers do such a great job, and my daughter can't wait to apply to be a state officer one
Love
day.
it.
So
Yay.
we have a future campaign, or hopefully a future state officer coming along. So thinking about all these commitments, whether that's financial, time, public representation, and actually this kind of connects to another question that Lizzie Shirley had up earlier, and she asked, "What is one thing that you learned through your year of service that you will take back into your next path?" And the question I had here was, "How have any of those commitments prepared you to be beyond ready for future opportunities?" So they kind of go hand in hand. So thanks for segueing us, Lizzie.
Yeah, so I think for me, the biggest thing is time management and resource management. You always have to make priorities sometimes. So with those ambassador opportunities, of course, most of them are not required of you, but they are really, really cool opportunities that you get the chance to do. So sometimes it's choosing between that or something else and making sure that you make the best decision for you is the most important part. And resource wise, maybe sometimes like I like to go ice skating or play top golf, and maybe to go to one of these ambassador events, maybe you skip playing top golf for a month, maybe you stop going ice skating for a month, right? But it's
Do
always
nothing
about,
fun while you're a state
yeah,
officer.
no fun, no fun's allowed. No fun's allowed.
That's what I say
Um,
at ledge committee. No fun.
No
yeah.
fun.
So
Just
for
kidding.
me, the biggest thing that I've been able to adopt, and it sounds kind of cliche, but having a to-do list always handy that you check every morning to see what it is I have to get done today, what it is I'm doing next week, to make sure that you're also utilizing the calendar app on your phone, setting reminders so you don't forget to do anything, you don't forget an opportunity's coming up and forget to register, so you don't forget to submit an application for a scholarship, whatever it may be. This it is kind of cliche, but making sure that you have the to-do list handy and making sure you frequently utilize a calendar is probably my biggest takeaway.
Timmy, there's some colleagues that I can think, and probably even myself, honestly, that I still struggle with that too. So
Yep.
the fact that you're even
Gotta love it.
getting on that
Huge
train
life skill.
now, like
Yep.
that's cool to hear.
Huge life skill.
What you got, Ricky?
Yeah. So, I mean, Timmy said, right, there's things you need to get done, but also there's a lot of things that the state officers need to get done. And it's a state officer team. And so I think one of the things that I learned throughout this year that I can use the rest of my life is learning how to rely on that team. And I've had to rely a lot on Timmy, on all the state officers, really, because people have different availability, different resources, different ways that they can help the state officer team. And so sometimes it's going to be a little bit more on your shoulder, or sometimes, you know, you can give that burden to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, the events need to be planned, and sometimes there just needs to be a green jacket or a green polo at an event, and someone has to show up, right? And so it might be you, or if you can't do it, you might have to rely on somebody else. So learning how to not put everything on you, but also knowing that you have to do your part for the team is definitely something that I'm going to take away from this, and something that's going to help me be beyond ready for the future.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So if you're sitting there ready and you're like, okay, cool, I meet all the requirements. I think I can make all the commitments happen. I think I want to do this. The next piece is going to be actually putting that application together. So I put a link earlier in the chat, and if you're finding this video later on, you're on this page. So congratulations, you already found this. But one of the things is to read all of that information that is on that web page. If you've been used to, or you've seen it before, an information packet, like a separate PDF, that has gone, and all of it is on this web page. So you can find all the information that you need, as well as links to the Constitution and bylaws. So some of it may seem a little dry, but it's really good just to know, like, again, what are those core things, like, by the Constitution and bylaws of this organization, what is my role? What should I be thinking about? What are other people's roles? I want you to make sure you're sitting down with a trusted adult to talk through what do you want to accomplish? Is a lot of what Timmy said earlier. So what is it that you want to accomplish? What has prepared you to do that? And can you highly prioritize being a state officer? So again, what is that layout of commitments? What can you potentially take off? If you've been the president of your county council for 4 years, maybe this is the year to pass it on to somebody else so that you can take on this role. And then once you get to submitting, just keep in mind July 1st. That is the deadline for that. It is a fully online. Application that includes basic contact information. You're going to upload your 4-H resume, and if you have not done one of those before, or if you're sitting there, I don't know. So if you've done the scholarship application and you've applied for scholarships or award trips, you already have a 4-H resume. So you can just take that, upload that. And that is one of those pieces that just gets us used to, anytime we're applying for something, we're usually uploading that resume. So just kind of getting into that habit, having that available. Also uploading a headshot. So this isn't necessarily because for any other reason other than we just want to advertise, hey, we have these people running, because once you become a state officer, we get official headshots and green jackets and everything. But this headshot just helps in that initial, like, hey, this person's running for this position, or we might advertise it at 4-H University up on a screen somewhere. There is an essay question involved. That question is, what is a belief about leadership that you've previously held that you've changed your mind on? Tell us about the change, what influenced it, and how it's affected the way you show up for the people around you. And that's really going to be used, we'll get to it a little bit later, but in our appointed process. So if you've heard about our appointed process before, where everybody has like a 5-minute interview with the elected officers, that's changed a little bit. And so this question is going to be a big piece of that. So giving that time now to think through that. So it's not going to be necessarily used in your initial election, but it will be used in that appointed process. So taking the time to sit down with that, think through that. On that web page, there's some really good guidance on the use of AI with this. And I want to specifically say that now, because if every if every answer that we read starts with, I think I would be a great state officer because dot dot dot, that starts to give us a little bit of a red flag of like, I might not be listening to Timmy right now, or I might not be listening to Ricky right now. So just think, not saying that it's absolutely banned. I don't have control of that. I can never tell you that. I can't do that. But just something to be aware of as you're thinking through that, of really using it as that thought partner piece and not just to completely do the writing for you. So again, there's guidance on that web page to help think through that. We also need your 4-H professional email, since that helps get them the approval. And then your parent or guardian signature on there as well to say, yes, I will support this person getting to all of these things and the commitments and all those things. Because as much as we want to say, yes, we're going to do it, you got to make sure you got that family support too, because that's a big piece of our year. So Timmy and Ricky, looking back, what part of the application process, so we just talked through that, what part of that application process challenged you the most, and how did you grow from it?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it, Mr. Derby, that essay question, and the way that essay question helps prepare for both the election and the appointed interview. I think I that challenged me, the question, and I'm glad I sat down with it and really, I didn't try to speed through it or anything. I really tried to give a thoughtful answer because it did help me start thinking sort of like a state officer and start thinking about how I can be a better leader and how I can represent. And that did help me campaigning and to help me during the appointed interview. And I think still being in that frame of mind and still thinking about how I can constantly be improving and how I can be a better leader continues to help me as a state officer. So sitting down with that essay question, really thinking about it, taking a couple days, going through a couple drafts on how to write it, how I want to present myself right in this application. I think that's super important. And I'm really glad I did do that, even though it is challenging. It's challenging to put down your thoughts and try to be concise and all that. I think I was really glad that I did it in that way.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too, because that, yeah, that really starts to help you think through, like, what does that campaign look like for you? What does that platform look like for you? What are you running on? Things like that. And I did get a question at some point that I'll throw in here. Somebody asked, like, well, was there a word limit? I almost put one. I did not, but this is the part where you start thinking about how much is too much, how much gets the point across, and so starting to balance that. Is it enough to where somebody gets tired of reading it by the time they get to paragraph 4 and they don't get to paragraph 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or yeah, that might be a little too much. But one 2-sentence answer, that's probably not enough. So like enough to get your answer across, to make your point, and to actually keep me engaged in reading. That's going to look different for everybody. So there's no word count, there's no any sort of that. So write what you need to. But go for it, Timmy.
Yeah, so what kind of challenged me the most during this whole process was goal setting.
Mm.
This year I came in, I had a lot of big ideas that I wanted to accomplish.
We'll
And I
talk about that
really,
here in a
Yeah,
sec.
well,
I really underestimated the amount of effort that it was going to take to accomplish these goals. Thank goodness, 7, 8 months later, they came to fruition. But I really underestimated the intensity and the effort it was going to take to make sure that they happened. So when you're going into this process and when you have a goal that you want to run behind, it's not a requirement, but if it's something that you're interested in, it's very important that you run it by Miss Kelsey or Mr. Derby or a trusted 4-H adult before you start talking about it too much, before it's publicized too much. Because if it's something that's going to take a lot more effort than you have time for, you want to make sure that your goals are achievable. So something that I always use is making a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So not just thinking about what you want to get done, but what time you're going to get it done by, what resources and what people are you going to have to pull in to make it actually happen. All
yeah.
very important things with goal setting that I've been fortunate enough to be able to learn more about this year.
I laughed too at the beginning. I don't want somebody to like, why was he laughing at Timmy's goals? Because every time, and Kelsey will get to this as we move. This will be a great segue into the next part.
Yes.
But every time people get up there and start campaigning, I start sweating a little bit because I'm like, oh gosh, what's my job going to look like this next year? Like, oh gosh, what do we got to make happen? So yeah, with that campaign, with a platform, Kelsey, tell us about what that campaigning looks like.
What I want to throw in there too, as we kind of get into the campaigning, is don't get too hung up about like the position that you apply for. Yes, apply for something that you're interested in and that you think you would be best at and thrive in that role. But really, when we get together as a team, we look at our team's strengths and then we go from there. So, don't get too bogged down, secretary, reporter, which one should I do? Which one should I do? Just apply for something that feels natural to you and then we can go. I know I heard, in the grapevines, oh, I don't want to apply for that because that means I have to do this. That's not the case. That means that year, that person, that was their strength, and that's why they're put into that role when we talk about a state officer team. So don't let that cloud you or be something you get bogged down in is the position that you're applying
Well, and I mean, it's
for.
a prime example of that. People think we're crazy, but sometimes the treasurer is not the
Yeah.
chair of Ways and Means
It has
because they're
happened.
it has happened because I mean,
Yeah.
we look at those, we look at who we have in front of us, and we go, okay,
Mhm.
who's going to do best in these roles this now? Are they still involved with Ways and Means? Absolutely,
Yeah.
but again, it depends on what people are going to make happen this year, and even this past year, like I know Ways and Means didn't have a committee that met at executive board.
Mhm.
That's still in flux. That's still
Yep.
we're looking at options, so I don't want anybody to look at that and be like, I can't run for that because I want to commit. So again, run for what you think you want to do, what aligns with what you want to make happen, and most things are on the table.
Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely. So now let's get to your campaigning. One of the big things that we, over these last few years in particular, is this platform. I've got to run on this really thought through, big idea platform. And you really, quite simply, don't. You don't need to do that. If you have some grand ideas and you have some good goals that you have set, absolutely do it. But if you have something, that's structural change, or you want to bring something, or you want to do some big thing with 4-H, you do need to run it past us. That's just as simple as sending us an email. When I say us, it's Mr. Derby, and mainly Mr. Derby, and then I'll support as needed for that, but we'll work together on that approval process, and be open to us giving feedback and working through adjustments together. We want your platforms to be realistic and we want them to succeed. And so if you give us something and we say, hey, have you thought about this? And that not being a realistic goal, let us help you get through that kind of thought process before you campaign on something that's just not going to happen in that time frame. And sometimes maybe it could be a multi-year project or whatever. We'll work through with you on that. But we are going to start a quote unquote approval process for campaign platforms, if you have them. Or you can just say, I'm voting, I'm running, here are my skills. There's no platform necessarily to go with it, and that's okay too. Think about the materials that you're going to need or want while you're campaigning. There is a price limit of $200. That is personal funds, or if some counties will sponsor you. If you haven't talked to your county yet, it might be worth asking them if they would sponsor you. Even if your county is sponsoring you for your campaign materials, that limit is still $200. So no more than $200 can be spent. And you can say, well, I'm okay with spending that. This is to make it even across the board. So you cannot spend more than $200 on campaigning materials. And we ask you to submit a financial report of what you spent it on. So we saw that you giving out pencils and you never put pencils on your financial report. We'll probably talk to you about that. So be true to that. It's a simple Google form that you'll upload, your campaign materials that you bought for 4HU. Make sure you're checking out that packet. It has on that website. It has a ton of information, and we probably could drop it in the comments for you here as we wrap up our live. But lots of information. But there are a few things that you cannot bring to 4HU and have them as campaign materials. Things like stickers. We don't allow you to have stickers. You can't bring baked goods, things that people can eat. You can't have T-shirts that you're passing out. So there are some things
there for that event.
There are some things that you need to look to see what can you have and can you not have for materials. So make sure you're looking at that. If you're a candidate and you're running, we do ask that you come on Sunday before 4-H University starts. So be sure that you're looking at your calendar, not only that you're free for university, but that you're free to come that Sunday evening as well. We do just a lot of our onboarding meetings, sharing all the information, answering all the questions, and that also gives you time on Monday to start your campaigning, setting up your things, making it an even playing field for everybody to start campaigning. You don't feel stressed about having to get there and do all of the campaigning all on your arrival day. You will have a prepared speech that you need to do while you're in at 4-H University during one of our state council meetings. That's a 2 to 3 minute prepared speech. You'll have a time when we get to talk to everybody that comes to 4-HU and have a little Q&A. And then you'll have a time for impromptu speeches that you'll give to the state council delegation before voting. You'll be prompted with a question, and then you did not know that question beforehand, and then you come to the front and give a speech that's a max of 2 to 3 minutes or less. And then, as Mr. Joby shared, we are going to be doing appointed group interviews this year. So you will come in as a group, and that essay question is going to have a big part of that. So nothing's going to come at you that you're not prepared for. We're not going to surprise you with anything, but it is a little bit of a new process this year. A lot of scheduling things have gone into that decision, as well as some other decisions. So just be prepared for a group interview. And two, you don't have to run for an appointed position. If you've decided that you're running for an elected position and you don't make it into your elected position, you say, hey, you know what? I just don't want to go through the appointed process. That's okay too. You're allowed to say that. It's not an automatic that you have to, and you can bow out then. But of course, we encourage you to do it because there's still opportunities to be had.
Yeah, I would say that appointed interview change is really because exciting that this year. So typically, state officers have come to 4-H University and they don't get to participate in the workshops. Like that's a big piece of it is those career tracks. And so this year, as we were looking at it, we wanted to make sure that even those that are running to be a state officer have that opportunity to participate in the career tracks. And so just with that scheduling piece, it wasn't going to look the same. But we're like, no, we want to prioritize even our state officers need to look at career tracks and be part of that. So so that is an exciting piece that you guys get to be a little bit more a part of. And I know there's a couple officers out there that, dang, I never got to go to a workshop, or like there's some they're like, oh, I get to finally go to a workshop this year. That's exciting. But yeah, that comes and what Miss Kelsey said, nothing's going to surprise you. We will have a full layout of what that group interview process is going to look like. Hopefully leading up to 4-H University, but at the absolute least that Sunday you guys come in, just so you guys know what to expect. That's not anything that we're going to surprise you with. So closing us out, this is probably one of our longer Ask 4-H abouts, but we just know there's a lot of information here. But to close us out, Ricky and Timmy, if you could go back in time and give yourself some campaigning advice, what would you say?
So, if I could go back in time and give myself campaigning advice, I would tell myself to enjoy the experience of campaigning and getting to talk to other people. A lot of times we get caught up in the, did I get my point across? Is this person going to vote for me? And it becomes very, very almost, I don't want to say, for lack of a better term, it feels like a job almost. And you can find yourself losing the joy in that process of campaigning because you're worried if you're going to get the position or not. Or maybe you're revisiting a conversation you had and you thought of another point that you should have brought up. But what I would tell myself is to experience it and come into it looking and seeking for joy in the process, having a smile on your face, looking forward to the conversations that you have, and looking forward to the growth that you'd be able to experience in the whole process.
If you're not having fun, it ain't worth it.
Absolutely. Don't stress yourself.
Go for it, Ricky.
Yeah, I think something similar about that, about having fun. I'm sort of a shyer person by personality, and when I was campaigning, I didn't put myself out there as I should have. I was a little self-conscious, and I didn't shake as many hands. I didn't put up as many posters as I probably should have, as I needed to win. and I didn't give myself the best shot because I was worried people are gonna think, I'm silly. People are gonna think, oh, I'm never voting for this guy or whatever. And that's a silly thought. And so I think definitely to run for state office, you don't need to have the biggest personality naturally. I don't. I'm a more reserved person naturally, but you do need to put yourself out there, and you do need to sort of build up your courage, because it is a lot about making those connections, about showing who you are off. It's a chance to show who you are and show all you've accomplished and show the skills that you could have as a state officer. So if I could go back and change it, I would put myself out there. And that's what I recommend to everyone, to not be ashamed or not think, well, I've got to do this specifically, as Timmy was saying. Just put yourself out there, show who you are, and people are going to be gravitated towards that naturally.
Good advice.
We'll leave it at that. So we've had a past state officer asking us some questions tonight. We have our current ones. I look forward to the applications and the campaigns and for the ones that are going to become next year. I look forward to Jennifer Kassler's daughter's application in however many years that is. But thank you guys very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.